Change is the one constant that everyone both craves and fears. People claim to want progress, to desire something new, to embrace innovation and reinvention, but in truth, most cling tightly to what's familiar. Deep down, the masses distrust too much change at once. Rapid shifts unsettle people, leaving them anxious, nostalgic for the past, and suspicious of those leading the new direction. This is where Law 45 from the 48 Laws of Power becomes indispensable: preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once. History is littered with the corpses of revolutions that moved too quickly. Leaders who promised sweeping change, only to be cast down by the very people who once supported them. Human beings are creatures of habit. We structure our identities around traditions, shared memories, and familiar rituals. When you disrupt those too violently, you trigger a deep-rooted fear. People don't just mourn what's been lost, they begin to see you, the agent of change, as a threat. The wise ruler, the powerful leader, the master manipulator understands this delicate balance. They recognize that while the appearance of progress keeps people hopeful and engaged, too much visible change alienates them. The trick is to become the symbol of evolution without becoming the destroyer of tradition. You must clothe your reforms in the language of continuity. Present your new ideas as an extension of what people already know and love. Make them believe that you're not tearing down the past, but rather preserving its spirit in a form better suited to the present. If you study history's greatest power players, you'll notice this pattern again and again. The smartest leaders introduce their innovations gradually, folding them into existing customs and frameworks. They maintain certain rituals, uphold respected traditions, and publicly honor the old ways, even as they quietly shift the foundation beneath them. It's a psychological maneuver. By preserving the symbols of continuity, you calm people's fears and give them a sense of security, all while steadily moving them in the direction you desire. Change is most effective when it feels organic, like a natural evolution rather than an imposed revolution. People should be made to feel as though they themselves chose the new direction, not as though it was forced upon them. Frame your new ideas as the logical next step in a familiar story. Use familiar language, respected icons, and historical parallels to soften the blow. This makes your reforms palatable and makes you appear not as a radical, but as a steward of their values. One of the greatest mistakes a person in power can make is underestimating the emotional attachment people have to symbols, customs, and routines. It might seem trivial to you, an outdated ritual, a meaningless ceremony, a redundant title. But to the public, these symbols carry emotional weight. They represent stability, identity, and belonging. Even when people demand change, they secretly crave the comfort of the old. This law applies far beyond politics or leadership. In personal relationships, in business, in social circles, the same dynamics exist. If you propose too radical a shift in a company's culture or an individual's routine, you'll provoke resistance. But if you ease them into it, preserve certain familiar elements, and link your new vision to their existing values, you'll find allies where before there was only opposition. A leader who strips away traditions without regard for sentiment risks creating a void of meaning in people's lives. Into that void rush fear, resentment, and rebellion. Even if your reforms are logical and necessary, even if they will ultimately improve the lives of those around you, it won't matter if you move too fast. Their emotional reaction will overpower their rational understanding. What makes this law so powerful is its application in environments both big and small. A clever manager introducing a new workflow doesn't declare the old one dead, instead, they present the change as an enhancement of what worked before. A partner suggesting a new direction in a relationship doesn't frame it as abandoning the past but as building upon the shared history they both value. In doing so, they minimize resistance and make the other party feel involved in the decision. This is why those who wish to hold on to power for the long term never act like revolutionaries, even when they are. They wear the mask of a traditionalist while working subversively behind the scenes. Their speeches are filled with praise for ancestral wisdom, while their actions carefully reshape the system. They deliver progress disguised as preservation. They honor the old gods while building new temples. To master this law is to master the art of gradual influence. It teaches you how to plant the seeds of transformation without alarming the landscape's guardians. You learn to speak in the tongue of the people you wish to move, using their own symbols, values, and history to justify your new ideas. In doing so, you avoid the backlash that befalls those who disregard this timeless truth. People don't truly fear change, they fear sudden, unpredictable, and disorienting change. A skilled strategist knows that even the most radical transformation must be introduced in increments. Give people time to adjust. Allow them to believe that the new was always meant to be, that it honors what came before, and that they themselves chose it. Cloak bold moves in conservative language. Maintain the appearance of tradition even as you gut its meaning. In this way, you gain their loyalty, avoid unnecessary enemies, and reshape the world in your image without provoking the desperate defense of the old order. The essence of power isn't merely in having the ability to act but in knowing precisely when and how to do so. In mastering this balance, the dance between innovation and tradition, between action and patience, you position yourself above the emotional reactions of the masses. You become untouchable, a figure who seems both timeless and visionary. Understand that while people will complain about stagnation, they fear the abyss even more. Give them change wrapped in familiarity. Lead them somewhere new, but let them believe it's somewhere they've always meant to go. This is how the patient architect of power builds empires that endure.